Welcome to Resetting After Lockdown. I never thought I would be running an event that had a kind of a word like lockdown in the title, because it just kind of didn't seem like something I would want to do at any point. But really what happened is that I just had this conversation with numerous people over the course of a week who were just literally saying, I'm so exhausted after lockdown, or, oh, I've just lost my mojo, or you know, somebody said, I just know at any minute today at work I'm going to lose my shit, and it's just not like me. It's that kind of stuff that's happening for so many people right now. So here we are taking some time tonight to, take care of you, really. And so I really want to just say congratulations and give yourself a pat on the back for actually being here, because I just know what it takes sometimes to claim this space for yourself and to decide it's important enough and all that good stuff. So good on you. And if you're watching the replay, good on you for watching the replay. It doesn't always matter when. It's the fact that we do take this time for ourselves. So assuming your gadgets are off and you have this lovely space to yourself, I'm going to invite you to just take a minute to feel your body in your chair. So we're just going to take a minute to let every cell in your body arrive after whatever your day has contained and whatever it took for you to get here and be ready to start this evening. And just feel your body sitting. Feel the chair taking the weight of your body. And just allow all 600 trillion cells of wonderment to settle and arrive and just be here in this moment. Feeling this physical body arrive. Feeling your mind settle here. It might be kind of in several places right now, but inviting it to just be here now. Letting your energetic body be here, letting go of the day, just fully arriving. We're going to take a few breaths. We're going to breathe in through our nose, gently but fully to your belly, and then we're going to breathe out with a nice audible sigh. So you're muted, I can't hear you, nobody else on the call can hear you, but I want your body to hear you, and I'm going to tell you why later. So we're going to take about 3 of these, so breathing in through the nose. Lovely audible sigh out. And another one. And another one. Really good. If you feel like doing another one, go for it. And this audible sigh out is a way of letting your nervous system know, yeah, I'm here and everything's okay. Because if everything wasn't okay and you were needing to like run from a saber-toothed tiger, you would not be going, right? So this audible sigh out lets your system know, oh yeah, everything's okay right now. It's good. And then we're going to do something called orientation. And so this is again for your nervous system. And I'm just going to invite you to have a look around you. So you're going to have a look around your room. You're going to look above you and below you. You're going to look behind you. Moving fairly slowly. And just allowing your whole body to be aware of your surroundings fully. And again, this practice gives your body, your nervous system, the experience of knowing exactly where you are, that all is well, everything is okay. This activates your core primal state of safety. And then we're going to just do a very simple eye movement exercise that also helps bring yourself into a calm, relaxed state. So you're simply going to move your eyes directly left. You're going to hold them here for 30 seconds or until you feel your body audibly kind of breathe out or take a breath. Some kind of signal that there is a calming happening. So we're about 10. Eyes hard left. If you feel that movement in your body, just let your eyes relax. Another 5. And then bring your eyes back to center, let them relax. Then we're going to go eyes directly right for 30 or until you feel that shift in your body. Another 5. Okay, relaxing your eyes. Just give your shoulders a little roll. Letting some breath come in. Letting it fall out. Just check you're comfy where you are. Okay, so we're already starting to just let the nervous system settle itself down. You might notice I just got a good tingle through my mid-back then and down my neck. And you might notice any kind of sensation in your body, any kind of signal that things are settling or shuffling a little bit. So what we're going to do tonight is sort of a little collection of things. And we're going to talk first a bit about what's actually going on and also what we've been through and what we're going through in a relatively high level way. I certainly wouldn't call myself an expert about going through pandemics. I'm also not even a nervous system expert, but I have been learning from some people who are and want to share with you a few key things that I think help us to start make sense of what's going on, but also, and most importantly for tonight, what that means for how you can take care of yourself, take care of your resilience, be front-footed, and kind of reverse back out of anything that's feeling a bit less than useful for you so far. And so I'm going to share a bit about what it all means for our nervous system, and it will put in context some of the tools and approaches that I want to offer you tonight as well. Then we're going to talk about some of those, what I'm calling tiny practices to support your nervous system regulation and your wellness and resilience. Some do's and don't, well, some don'ts and then the do's, some of which might be familiar to you already, some of which might be a little new, and some which might just be a bit of a reminder about, yes, you know this stuff, but are you actually doing it? So please just take the bits that feel really pertinent to you right now and leave the rest. You'll know what is most relevant for you. And I'm hoping we're going to have time to do a little bit of tapping so that we can actually just start to shift some energy in your body for you tonight. So that my intention is that we'll have a good space for that. And then I'm also going to give you some ideas of what you can do next if you feel like you kind of want to do something more than what we're doing tonight. And I'm going to send you a whole bunch of stuff in an email follow-up, especially the key tools that we're talking about this evening. How much we dive into some topics will depend a little bit on where you guys are at. So we'll see how we go. So I think, you know, the most obvious thing that we're all aware of in terms of, well, it's hard to know what the most obvious thing is, but one of the obvious things about what we've been through so far with the pandemic situation is that we've had this big pause, and the pause was variable for different people because some people weren't able to work and it was actually an actual pause. For others, I know some of you on this call, you didn't actually pause because you worked through, but you were then at home with the kids and the husband and or the wife and everything that goes with that, and so life suddenly got very condensed. So we all had, you know, in one sense, quite a range of experiences. But I think everyone experienced some degree of that pause and, whoa, look at what my life was like before this happened, because suddenly I do, even if I'm still working, I'm now not having to get ready for work quite the same. I don't have to commute. I actually have some more time to reflect and think about what's going on right now and what my life is like and what it was like and what I might want it to be like. And for those of us who have had more of a break and have actually had chunks of time off, there's also been even more space to really think about those things. Meanwhile, in the background, we've also all been dealing with the reality of a virus that is a global pandemic and the realities of that. And we've been so fortunate in New Zealand to be incredibly sheltered, no matter how you think about it, from the impacts of this. But we also know that the rest of the world is going through some very dramatic experiences around this. And also, you know, it's only been recently that we've all known that we are relatively safe. And now we have even more confidence. It's kind of cool that we are gathering tonight to talk about this stuff on the first day of kind of almost out of lockdown, right? From a day-to-day point of view. So I think for a lot of people what the pause and having that time to reflect has done is actually helped us realise just how tired we really were. It's helped us realise just how many crazy hours we were doing and what we need to be different going forward. But the other thing that I think's happened, and I don't know how many of you relate to this, but we've just been through something, and we are still going through it, and I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a minute, but we've just been through a period where we were feeling physically in danger of our lives being taken from us. And that is a different kind of stress response. It's the same, it activates the same system in the body, but it's a different experience of our fight-flight system, I think, than a lot of our typical everyday stresses that are often what I would call psychological stress about deadlines, how much work we've got to do, the crazy driver in front of us, those sorts of things that tend to, even financial worries, you know, they're not actually an immediate physical danger, which is what our fight-flight system was designed to be activated for. You know, they're our everyday and often psychological stresses. We're worrying about a deadline that's not technically a danger, although it depends what kind of boss you have, I suppose. But you get the idea. And I think what it's done is it's actually, it's kind of got us more connected to our body. It's kind of like a big shake that says, whoa, okay, here's my body. And now I'm noticing that it's actually really tired, and I've noticed a lot of, you know, I've had a number of people say to me how they've actually been catching up on sleep, and they're amazed at how many mornings they sleep through later than they normally would if they let themselves. And I'm like going, yes, because I know they had sleep deficit, and now they're gathering that they're catching up on their sleep, which is amazing. It's very good for longevity. And basic health. And so I think that's kind of partly what's happened, is that we've just, a lot of people are just more connected to their well-being or lack thereof in some areas. And now we're saying, actually, this does not feel okay for me anymore. Being this tired or being this grouchy or being this run down doesn't feel cool. And I am celebrating that. Because that kind of awareness, we need that kind of awareness, and we need that kind of determination and desire to be more well and more rested and more refreshed and more resilient, because that's actually how we're meant to be living, in my humble opinion. not dragging ourselves through the week and just making it to the weekend and then collapsing. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely to be kind of living in a way that means we can enjoy our day at work, we can enjoy our evening, we can enjoy a Friday night, we can enjoy a weekend, because there's enough balance there that we've got the capacity and space for that to all feel good. So that's kind of a slightly bigger vision beyond just feeling like we can recover from lockdown, but that's the context for this conversation, I feel. So the other thing too is that if you had some sort of ongoing stress happening before lockdown, if you had a bit of low immunity or anything like that, then it's no wonder people in that boat are feeling pretty knackered now, because you were already in some kind of deficit probably, and then bam, you've just been through this very intense lockdown time. And yeah, so really bear that in mind. I'm going to come back to that a bit later as well. So what I know people have said to me, you know, a bit about losing their cool at work or feeling fuzzy-headed. For me, I had, being fuzzy-headed and just kind of forgetting what I just said 2 minutes ago was happening for me quite a bit off and on. People are, saying they're knackered, that they're not keeping up with their normal schedule, or they don't want to start anything new right now. They're at work and they're doing their thing, but don't ask them to sort of start doing anything new and creative and like that. So what for you have been sort of little signs or signals that you want to do some resetting? Would you pop some stuff in the chat for me, like what sort of things? And they might be things that you've experienced, or they might be things you've noticed other people going through that are kind of, those little signals that, I'm not quite feeling myself, I'm not feeling quite as resilient as I would like. It might be losing your shit at someone, like one of my friends said, or a client who's just like, oh, just tired, always. Yeah, cool. So memory loss, forgetfulness, exhaustion, yeah, that feeling that everything's hard, taking a lot of effort, Swearing, oh boy, I don't have an excuse for that, I do it all the time. Anxiety, tired, lack of patience, struggling to be out of bed, tired. And those recognising what's not your normal, like no, you don't normally have a short fuse, or you're not normally knackered in the morning. Yeah, cool, thanks everyone. So not feeling as in control, Okay, cool. So what I'm going to share with you is going to hopefully just put some context around this, because this is all so normal for what's been happening. And as, like everybody's got some kind of version of this going on at the moment, whether they're aware of it or not, whether they're taking care of it or not is variable. But they do. So I wanted to share with you, I'm going to try and do this briefly, but share with you a couple of things. And the first, I'm going to share my screen with you. We're not doing slides tonight, but I'm going to share with you a few charts and things for now, and then we're going to come back out of share screen. And this first piece is from a talk that I'm going to send the link to for you. It's a 10-minute talk by a guy in South America called Ali Duarte. And he was asked by Kimberly Johnson, who is somebody I follow online and is one of my teachers around the nervous system and so on. She's a really interesting woman to follow, especially for women. She does some fabulous stuff on the nervous system. Her name will be in the notes. She asked Ali to talk about the emotional response curve that relates to how we deal with disasters in a community context and what that means for dealing with COVID. And I just want to show you his graph so that you can get an idea of what he shares about and put some context around what we're doing. and then I'm going to tell you a bit about the nervous system. Okay, so what he explains is that there are these stages that we go through when disaster strikes, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them, but it just gives you an idea that this is not a linear thing. There's actually a lot that goes on, and a lot of it for many of us, even if we haven't experienced every kind of particular aspect of it, somewhere in the boondocks of our nervous system we probably have, okay? So the first thing that happens is the pre-event point here, where we hear about what's going on, like we heard about what happened in China, and we're like, well, what's going on? What does this mean? And there's a mixture of things. There's kind of this polarity that happens. There are people who are like, well, that's not going to happen here, and I'll be fine anyway, and this sort of invincibility that happens. And then there are those who feel really vulnerable and unsafe and totally freaked out. And then there are those of us who may have moved between these two at times. And so in this period at the beginning, there is confusion and definitely uncertainty, and it's very unsettling. And then there's the point here where, yes, this is actually a thing. And I think for a lot of us, it was those few days that we went into level 3 lockdown, and it was very sudden. And suddenly there is a virus, and we all have to take action immediately. And so there's shock, there's denial. My dad still wanted to go to dancing classes, to Sarot classes, and it wasn't until the government basically said you can't go that he would stop. There is a real disorientation in all sorts of forms. So already there's a lot that we're all going through, and then there is this point where we get to where people start to step up. They make heroic decisions, they take actions, they start reaching out. We heard about people singing from their balconies in Italy. There were all sorts of things happening in New Zealand with different companies helping in different quarters because they were unable to be operating themselves. People reach out, they help. We get uplifted by this. There's deep gratitude. It has us all feeling really good. Then it gets really hard, and we are still having to carry on even though these good things are happening in the middle of this difficulty. We have stress, we have fatigue. We may be back over here sometimes and then go back again. I certainly did that several times. There comes a point, and I'll let you catch this video by L.A. Duarte if you want to hear more about this, but then the political game kicks in. There is blaming, there is why is this happening, why isn't the World Health Organization telling us they know about this, and all the things that go on in the background here. That starts to divide people, which is kind of what it's designed to do. We go through anger, we go through sadness, there are things that we're grieving about, probably right the way through. I think the grief actually happens right the way through because it's not only happening to us, it's happening in other countries. And there is this point where this curve starts to tip up again, and we start to integrate and accept what's happening. And I think we've had some space for more of this in the last few weeks. And interestingly, what LA says is that we will circle back through this, quite often more than once. And he also talks about what can soften this curve off, what can sort of bring this up a little bit so that it's not such a deep dive, and that a lot of that is about gelling as a community. And to have to flatten that curve is cohesion. And so one of the reasons I've been sharing this with some of my business clients is because some of us are having the experience of really wanting to hide under a rock in some respects, and I'll talk about why that happens in a sec. And so the encouragement here is to not do that where you can, is to actually reach out rather than hide under a rock. So as you can see, this is quite the journey for our nervous system. And I want to share now a little bit about what is actually going on in our nervous system. More specifically, this is kind of that broad context, that global context. So sharing with you about the nervous system is really in the context of being able to give you a map then for regulating your own nervous system in small ways. And this is something that, for instance, Kimberly Johnson talks and teaches a lot more around. And part of this comes from polyvagal theory, which is a new favourite subject of mine that I'm dying to dive into more deeply and do some training around. It's absolutely fascinating, and it's some of the newer information around how the nervous system works. And I don't know about you, but for a long time I've assumed that our autonomic nervous system has these two parts: the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest. It's what's active when we're relaxing or eating or having sex or chilling out or having a belly laugh or sleeping, healing our body. All of those things are parasympathetic modes. And then the sympathetic nervous system, which is our stress response, but it's also what has us active. It gets us out of bed in the morning. It helps us climb a hill and all of those good things. But it turns out that there are two branches to the parasympathetic nervous system, and one of them is the back body parasympathetic mode. It's our most primal part of the nervous system, and it's the part of us that does the freeze response. And so it's kind of like an emergency standby state for when we really need to be in protection mode. And that gets activated when we are at our highest point of arousal. So it's a really helpful thing to understand when we're all going through stuff we're going through right now. So I'll explain that more in a minute. The other branch of the parasympathetic nervous system is the front of the body, the social nervous system, the part that has us, it's very much connected to our sense of belonging, and in that biological sense, it's our true rest and digest mode when we're relaxed, digesting our food well, when we are supporting our immune system. It's that front body through the vagus nerve that's coming right through the mastoid, down the whole front of the body, down through the entire enteric gut system, and then down through around the perineum. That whole vagus nerve is all through that front body. So there's these two amazing branches. So here's what is, I'm just going to touch on this briefly because you can see there's kind of a lot here. But I just want to show you what this means for our day-to-day experiences. So when we are in our social engagement, so the ventral vagal, the front body, parasympathetic mode, we are grounded, we are curious, calm. It's when we can come up with fresh ideas and suddenly find a creative way to solve a tricky problem. It's when we're thinking widely and open-mindedly, and when we can take the time to take care of somebody, to meaning we can respond to somebody with a little grace or kindness or warmth, versus those moments when we might be up the scale a little bit of arousal and losing our cool or losing our patience or whatever. So as we move up the arousal scale, which you can see is here on the left, we move into the sympathetic response, and that can have us responding either with fight or flight, and I'll expand on that in a minute. And there's a point though here which, when our arousal gets to a certain level of the arousal of the nervous system gets to a certain level, we activate that dorsal vagal back body freeze response. And so, because a lot of people are going, I'm kind of like feeling a bit paralyzed, or I'm avoiding stuff, I'm not taking action, and it's the freeze response. So it's a really helpful thing to understand that that's what's going on for some of us. And I've had moments of it off and on over the last few months, that this information has helped me start to be able to manage better. So until we can lower our arousal back down and activate back into the sympathetic mode and actually be in some healthy aggression where we can take good action, it can keep us very much sort of stuck in the sense of, so, you know, if we are finding ourselves trying to deal with something at work and we're just going, I just don't know. I don't know. Or I can't do that. I can't do that. It's quite likely a freeze response, and it's because we're hanging out in this top part of the nervous system response. So on a day-to-day basis, these are the sort of behaviours this means we might see. So when we're in fight, we're moving towards something. It will tend to look like irritation, frustration, rage. So sometimes fight's not such a bad thing. It's just we want to be able to channel it usefully. When we're kind of overusing that reaction, it often has us overdoing work. So we're actually just doing. I've had this conversation with a number of my clients recently where they're just kind of on this mission and they're like, oh, I'm just really fired up, and when we unpack it a bit, it's actually they're in fight mode and like they can't turn the switch off. So they're wrestling the problem, they're overworking, they're overacting, they're kind of just attacking problems, making up all these lists of things for them to do and then doing them and tiring themselves out. This comes with tunnel vision, so it means we're sort of just on this mission, like that expression, the dog with a bone. They're like a dog with a bone. That's usually somebody quite likely in a fight response. And they're sort of lacking that wider view of, hang on a minute, is this the best way for me to spend this hour? And I'm still finding myself looking into this a little bit myself at times. So again, good to understand it. So when we're talking about flight, obviously that's an escape response, and it's often when we are we will move away from something or pull back. It's when we are in some kind of anxiety, worry, panic. We will ignore things and just sort of pretend they're not there to deal with. We might walk away from something. I had a client say the other day, he just hung up on one of his managers who was having a big stressy rant on the phone, and he just hung up because it was just too much. So, you know, that's a pretty good flight response if they're not in the room. Or we change the subject and kind of just sort of try and move attention to something else. And then the freeze response is that real inertia where we're stuck, we don't know what to do, we experience it as confusion or overwhelm. We might, you know, I've had moments of feeling really literally paralysed, like just don't know what to do. And that sense of just throwing your hands up. So I might pop back to this other slide, but let's just talk for a minute about what that looks like for you. So maybe you want to just take a minute to share in the chat. Where do you think you hang out? Is there, are you kind of going, oh my God, I'm fight all the way? Or is there a bit of a mixture? Or which bits were resonating for you? Just take a minute to do that reflection for yourself. And yeah, pop it in the chat if you would. Cool, yeah, and being a mixture is, I'd call that human. Some people can tend towards more of one than the other, but yeah, the mixture is pretty common, I would say. And yeah, that sort of penduluming from being in go, kind of fight the good fight, do, and then crash, and then nothing for a few days. That's, yeah, a lot of people can relate to that one. And then what happens with that too, and hopefully nobody's in this boat on this call, but is that if that penduluming can also be go, and then hit a wall, and then pause for a moment and then keep pushing through, and that's the road to burnout. So if that sounds familiar, you really want to back the truck up on that one as soon as you can. It's the pushing through that is usually the biggest problem in that. What happens? Yeah, cool. So we'll be moving through them at different times, definitely. And I want to show you this one more screen, this one more slide, to just put context around the idea of healthy aggression, because I know for a number of you, you probably go into freeze a fair amount, and it can be more common for women, but I don't know if that's a general rule, but certainly in the communities where I've been learning this, that's the case. And so sometimes, because sometimes we can kind of get a little bit worried about being in some kind of fight response where we might be sort of putting our foot down around something, or whatever it might be. And we're going to do some breaths around these stages of the nervous system in a sec, which I think you'll find interesting. And so one of the breaths is a fight breath. And the reason we want to be able to do that and bring ourselves, so another way to do fight breath is just to get up and do some star jumps, is to just, or some of that. And you're activating that. So if you're sitting, you know, if you're sitting in a freeze response and you know that you're just kind of out to lunch and you really need to get something done, then just getting that physical body activated for a minute with any of those sorts of things, it creates this consolidation of energy and gives you some momentum. So that's healthy aggression. It's helping you act. It's taking you out of that literally freeze response and that sort of catatonic sense of can't do anything right now, and moves us, and it helps us get into that I can frame of mind instead of I can't, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So we're using the physical body to activate ourselves emotionally or mentally as well as physically, because it's all one system, right? And I know a lot of you already know that. And then, of course, there's a little bit there about the social nervous system, which is really what we want to be activating as much as we can. And so remembering, and Ali Duarte talks about this as well, that the importance of being really connected with people, and that actually literally supports your social nervous system. That whole front body parasympathetic nervous system is supported by your connection with other people, as well as, you know, being able to breathe well and relax and all of those other good things. So let me share these breaths with you, because what you can do with these breaths is you're basically, it's like you're putting something into the system and you don't really know what the system needs to tweak in order for you to find balance. But when you put a few things in, it's sort of like Kimberly Johnson talks about a snow globe, and you know, when you shake it up, all the particles are everywhere, and then they settle back down themselves over time. And your nervous system is a little bit like that. When we bring these breaths in, it's like giving your nervous system a bit of input. It gets to sort of reorganize itself and regulate itself. You don't have to figure out whether it needs to come out of fight or come out of flight or get into one or the other. It will actually naturally regulate and balance itself out, which is a pretty amazingly cool thing to realize. So it's a little bit different to the breathing we might do in a yoga class or somewhere where there's often some kind of intention, like to relax or whatever. With this, you're not really asking for anything specific to happen. You're just trusting your body will do what it needs to do. So it's quite cool. Okay, so we're going to do 3 breaths, and we're going to do each one 5 times. And just get curious about what it feels like in your body. You're going to have a chance to feel that and track each one. So the first one we're going to do, I'm going to show you a couple so you can see how it works. You're going to breathe in through your nose and then out with one breath, 3 ha sounds. So it's going to look like this. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, and try and breathe to your belly and ha from your belly. Alrighty? Okay, so we're going to do 5 of these, and we're not going to do them very quickly, but we're also not going to do them really slow. Okay, all right. So let's take a nice breath in through the nose. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. One more. Ha, ha, ha. All right, just feel your body. Notice where your attention goes. Notice whether you liked that or not. Any sensations? I'm noticing the heater in my room is making it a bit dry, so that's given me a dry throat. Okay, second breath is like this. You are going to purse your lips as if you are breathing in through a straw, and then you're going to just let the breath fall out, still breathing to your belly. So I'll show you a couple. Okay, so your lips are quite pursed. All right, so we're going to do 5 of these. Breathing in. Breathing low. Into the belly. 2 more. Notice your body. What does it feel like now? Has your centre of gravity moved at all? Does that feel nice or not nice? Okay. Next breath and the last breath is what we began with tonight. So you're going to take a nice deep breath in to the belly, and then you're going to do an audible sigh out. So I'll just show you one again. So breathing in through your nose. See if you can make it sound really, really delicious. Like, oh. Okay, you're in the privacy of your own home, so go crazy. Okay, so breathing in through your nose. And then one more. Notice how that feels in your body. Any sensations, any fuzzy feelings or buzzes or softening. It's made the front of my body feel fuzzy. Okay. And then just take a moment to notice how your body's feeling now compared to when you sat down to start this class. Just do a little calibration for yourself. Just notice what the difference is. So that is your own internal feedback loop for what feels good to you. And so these breaths, I've included them in the notes I'm going to send you because I would love you to be able to use them whenever you wanted to. And what you might find is that sometimes you do all three, and sometimes there's one that feels like your favourite and you do that. And just trust what feels good and do it, because your nervous system will reorganise itself. And sometimes if we're in fight, we want to do a fight breath because it helps, that it does that sort of shake up. And sometimes we might want to feel like we do something a bit more restful because we want to move into that direction. And that's where if you just do all three, it's like the lottery. But you're always going to win something in this lottery, so it's good. Your body is always going to get something out of it. So the thing with this, and lots of other cool state management tools and breathing tools and things that we all have, is that we just often think we haven't got time to do it, and so we just never get around to it. And one thing that lockdown has really done for me is it's just made me way more determined to make space for these things. And even in the last 2 weeks, I've kind of turned that up another notch and made stuff like this my top priority in my day. So now my work, no matter what I've got going on, does not come first, regardless of the time of the day. And if I know I need to stop and do these breaths at 11 o'clock in the morning, then I do. And I'll usually do it standing in the sun or out on the grass, and I'll tell you why soon. And just taking the time, because of course the moment we can regulate our nervous system, it brings us back into a more resourceful state, and it's in that down regulation into a more resourceful state that we can see more widely, think more openly, we have more wisdom, we're more connected to our intuition, we can come up with fresh ideas, we can be creative. And of course we can make sure that our immune system is on, our digestion is working, and we haven't turned that stuff off because we're still in some level of arousal that has our body thinking we haven't, that we're in some kind of fight or flight. The minute we're in that mode, our body is going to pause all non-essential services because it's acting as if it's a saber-toothed tiger. Right, so it's a really key thing to remember. If you want to have strong immunity, if you want to digest your food well and avoid IBS and gut issues and all that kind of stuff, then be calm, like literally and figure it in fundamentally. And so regulating our nervous system back into calm and into parasympathetic in the social nervous system is how we do that. And the only way I know to get there in an ongoing, regular, everyday way is to make this the most important thing you do in your day. Because there are too many things competing for your attention otherwise. So these little practices that we've already done are available to you all the time. So your ability to move your eyes hard left and then hard right is using eye movement to shift the chemistry in your body. Orientation, so just taking that moment to orient your body and let your nervous system, especially that back parasympathetic nervous system, that you want to make sure that whole body knows everything's fine, all is well, it's all good, we can relax. And then these breaths. Okay, so again, they'll be in the notes that you can call on whenever you want to. Some of you were on the class I ran during lockdown, which was called Settling Your Nervous System. And in that, I share a whole bunch of other tools along those lines. I'm not sharing any more of them tonight, but I'll send you a link to that class so that if you want some more, you can dive into that class as well. It's a 45-minute class, that one. Okay, so we're going to switch gears now a little bit and talk about what not to do. If you are feeling exhausted, lost your mojo, all of the kind of stuff that we've been sharing about already. And I want to obviously follow these up with what to do instead. So three main things that I'm going to talk about tonight. Obviously there are a zillion things we could cover, but I want to talk about three things. So what not to do if you're low in energy, feeling the strain at work, lacking motivation, over it. Don't stay inside all the time. Sounds a little bit obvious, but we're all getting back into normal mode, and that is a really bad idea because we're, so don't stay inside all the time. Don't let work spread across your days and your evenings. And I know for some people working from home has kind of caused that, so I'm going to talk about that. And don't keep pushing through and assume that, oh look, we're going to have a holiday in August, I'll be fine till then. So I'm telling you now, do not wait till August. Okay, it is one of my top tips, and I've had this conversation with so many people. Don't even wait till July, actually. So here's what I want to share about. So instead, take some time out for yourself now, as in this weekend. Get out in nature every single day. Actively switch off from work every day. I'm going to show you how. And put your boundaries in if you haven't got them tidy already. And pause every day to tune into yourself on all levels and what you need. Okay, so I'm going to expand on all of those right now. So this first one I'm very, very passionate about, and I have really had to wag my finger about it a few times with a few clients in the last couple of weeks, is about replenishment. Having a break, having a holiday. And I know this is really a personal, it's a very individual thing, what replenishment means to you and what your body needs. So, I've got a client who, for him, replenishment is going to be a couple's weekend away without all the kids in a few weeks' time, and for him that will fill his tank the way he needs it. I've got another client who is who's just had a couple of days over the weekend away, left the kids with hubby, and I think she went to a girlfriend's place and they kind of had a retreat weekend at home. So it's going to be individual, and some of you won't be able to get away, but what can you do at home that is truly replenishing? So truly replenishing means that it's actually restoring you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Maybe not all four of those things in one hit necessarily, but across those areas that you most need. And so that could be like one of my replenishing things is being offline. So I've spent several weekends in one 4-day weekend mostly completely offline. I still watch a movie on Netflix if I want to. I still use my phone to talk to people and things, but I'm not on social media is the main thing, and I don't watch news anyway, so I only found out by accident we were going to level 1 today. But see, you do hear about the important things even if you're rather disconnected. Happens every time. And staying so definitely staying away from the news, and probably email and stuff like that as well. So if you've got things that you think, oh, actually I'd like to watch a couple of things that are in my YouTube library, then that's fine, but you'd go directly there and access that documentary or something you want to watch, and not dive off into other things. So you might still use some technology, but you're doing it really intentionally and carefully. Okay, so replenishment is really giving yourself what you really, really need. And it might be that you do this over a series of evenings as well. For instance, you might decide I'm going to have a couple of totally intentional evenings where I have a bath. I only read. I'm not on any devices for the night, or I intentionally have 2 really real early nights. It might be you have a retreat at home. There is a blog on my site showing you how to do that. It might be that you go away with your partner, or maybe you go away as a family, but it's in nature and it's something that's really nourishing for you. So it's really thinking about what's actually truly going to fill my tank. Not just, let's have a holiday. And the main thing right now is not to wait, is to do it now. If you are knackered right now, then plan some time right now, this weekend. If you can take a 3-day weekend, or if you can maybe you can manage that for next weekend, then have 2 kind of weekends like this. Like, we think this is all very indulgent and oh my goodness, but I'm like, no. This is exactly what we should be doing right now. So just finding a way that it works for your family and home situation. Okay, I'm going to jump to the next thing. So switching off from work and having boundaries. So again, there are a couple of blogs on my website right now around tips for working from home, and I cover quite a bit there around setting boundaries and navigating having kids at home if you're working and all that kind of stuff. I just want to share a couple of particular things for that mental switch off that are super useful, and I share with every client that we have this conversation with about. One is to do what you can at the end of your day to download onto a piece of paper, into your diary, or however you do it, your to-dos for the next day. So anything that would be a mental post-it note whizzing around in your head in the evening when you're trying to chop vegetables or help the kids with homework or whatever you're doing, download all of that out of your head and onto paper when you finish your work day, so that your unconscious mind knows, oh yeah, it's all in hand, that's for tomorrow, right now I'm going into my evening, I can chill out, all is well. And so you're doing a conscious process that's really simple, but at that unconscious level, it lets your brain switch off. It's not holding all these post-it notes going, oh, but what about this, and like this. And then the second piece to that, which just makes the whole thing even more rich, is take a minute also to acknowledge everything you've achieved today. Because we are so flippant about this. We do 50 million things, but we're so aware that there's so much to do tomorrow, and there's still emails unanswered in our inbox, which I have no attachment to whatsoever personally, that we just feel like we've still just got so much to do. How dare we knock off for the evening? How dare we switch off and, get lost in a good movie or something, or a game of Scrabble. But I dare you to just switch off for your evenings. And so that acknowledgement of everything that's been achieved is just kind of taking us into our evening in a much more balanced way, where we are truly more connected to what we've done. Because 300 years ago, if you'd cleared a field for work that day or stacked a whole pile of sacks of potatoes, you'd feel very connected to what you'd achieved in the day, wouldn't you? Like, you'd see it, you'd have dirt on your hands, you'd probably feel the muscles in your back. Our satisfaction would be so much more. But because we ping things around in cyberspace most of the time, you could have completed a 60-page document today, PDF'd it and emailed it to someone, and not even printed it and felt it in your hand. And so we get really disconnected from everything that we've done. So so that's that. And then I'm going to let you check out the blogs if you want more tips around boundaries. There's some really good things in there that if you need a refresh around that, it's worth checking those out. Okay, next one, so this whole don't stay inside. I'm going to send you one of the coolest documentaries I've seen in ages about earthing or grounding, and it sounds like one of those hippie things that's like, oh God, here we go. It's one of the coolest pieces of science I've seen in ages, and And it is explaining why when we are actually grounded on the earth and exchanging the electrical impulses that the earth has, it heals our body. It also helps us literally, it does all sorts of incredible things in the body. And I'm not going to get into it. I just wanted to be able to point you in the direction of some seriously cool shit to watch or read and to do. And the benefits of actually being in the sun are also monumental. I mean, it's so obvious, it's ridiculous, but these things don't get promoted because, drug companies can't make money out of it. So you're not going to hear this stuff shouted from the rooftops. And, most people who promote them are often being, framed as being a bit kooky or whatever, or unreliable scientists, and actually often they're the leading minds in the field, but they're just not doing these companies any favours. So don't be duped by that. So one of the practices that I've brought into my daily routine really emphatically is being in sunshine and being on the ground, ideally barefoot. I'm actually buying some little, actually my mum's going to knit me some slippers and I'm going to sew leather soles onto them, but I'm also going to buy some leather sole shoes so that I can stand out and on the cold grass when it's 5 degrees outside in the morning and not freeze my toes off. But otherwise, not, wherever you are, bare feet's great. But the idea is to be connected to the earth, like lying on the ground is wonderful, your hands on the ground, your feet on the ground, and for half an hour in the day if you can, or I've just ordered an earthing mat from Australia for my bed, so I'm going to see what that's like for sleep. So there's lots of stuff you can check out around that. But just thinking about how can you be grounding yourself each day in a literal sense, not in the spiritual sense, is another topic again. And how can you be in the sun? So the way I get in the sun at the moment is that because the sun's dipped enough at this time of the year, it comes into my dining room luckily. So I just sit on a slightly odd angle, catch the sun and have my breakfast and clear my email most mornings so that I'm getting the sunlight. And also it's helping set my circadian rhythm to support sleep. So there's a whole bunch of good reasons to be doing that. So try and, I've tried to sort of fit it into my day, so I'm not trying to find this half an hour to sit in the sun. And obviously working from home helps some of that. So it's just finding a way, how can I do that and fit it into my routine and it not be sort of a mission. So I'm not even going to read you the blurb I've got here about what grounding does. I'm going to let you check it out if it's resonating for you. But I'll send you a couple of links about that. So the thing is just about being in nature and just letting it give us its goodness. And at this time of the year here in New Zealand, at least as we're going into winter, it's easy to sort of not quite get around to it. But I get more sun at this time of the year because it's easier to sit in the sun. It's milder and less harsh than I do in the summer because, yeah, it's a little easier. Okay, so I'm going to one more thing and then I'm going to have a little pause and we're going to check in and see what we're going to do next. This next piece is about tuning in for yourself every day about what you need, and I think it can be a game changer. It only needs to take 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. One of my clients, he does a morning meditation and now he does this straight after his meditation and it's just become part of his morning practice. One of my guys does it in the shower in the morning. So, it's just kind of finding a way to make it work for you. And I call it, it's actually a really particular practice from the shamanic tradition, but I call it the morning weather report for my business owner guys, and that sort of feels fine. So you can call it whatever you like, okay? It might be your morning tune-in or your weather report. But you're tuning into 4 aspects of self: your physical self, your emotional self, your mental self, and your spiritual self. And you're checking in, how are you? One at a time. And what do you need? What do you need today? And it sounds very simple, and often these things are deceptively simple and they seem like, oh that's nice, oh well. But this can be really profound. You do it every day, because it's not just about checking what do you need, like is there a problem? One of the most profound things for me was recognizing how much centeredness or calm or whatever was there for me in moments, even through lockdown. Like some days it wasn't like that at all and everything was jangly and in need of something. But it also showed me that there were lots of moments where there was a steadiness or a centeredness or something that was really resourceful and really useful to be very consciously aware of. So it gives you a new level of awareness of self, and it helps you meet your own needs more fully. So I'm going to guide you through this just briefly now so you get the feel for it. And then, yeah, it'll be up to you if you want to bring it into your morning practice. And I was talking about this with a girlfriend the other day, and we were having that replenishment conversation because she was in need of, we were having a lost your mojo conversation. And she said, I asked her, so what would be true replenishment for you this week? And she said, I feel like I'm talking to my inner monk. And I was like, oh, of course. And so this tuning in is almost like that, except that you're tuning into these 4 specific aspects of yourself. But, it might be that's a useful frame for you. It's sort of like talking to your inner monk. All right, so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment and just let yourself come inside. And bring your attention to your physical body. You may find that having a nice smooth pebble to hold when you do this, or a gemstone, or something that you kind of like to hold, could be useful to choose as part of this practice, so that when you're holding it, you're in this practice, you're tuning in, or your weather report. And so you're just asking your physical self, how are you? And most importantly, listening. And not with any judgment or assessment at all, just hearing it. And then asking, what do you need? Might be just for this evening. What do you need this evening? Might be dinner if you haven't had any yet. And then if I feel like there's quite a lot going on for me, I'll usually have a little notebook handy and I might note it down as I go. And then you're going to ask your emotional self. And this is a little bit like tuning into your heart center, your heart space. But any aspect, any part of you that feels that it's part of your emotional self, I'm just asking, how are you, emotional self? Making space for everything that's there. And what do you need? And then moving to your mental self. So this probably feels like your head. Might feel like a particular part of your head. It's your thinking brain. You're just asking your mental self, how are you? Weary, fatigued, foggy, clear-headed, light, open, busy, quiet. And what do you need? And then moving to your spiritual self, this sense of this larger part of you that is your connection to all that is. How are you? What do you need? And then to complete, you might just give thanks to all these aspects of you, or you may set an intention for the day ahead, or in this case, the evening ahead. You may bow to yourself and honour yourself, whatever feels comfortable for you. Then I'm going to invite you to just gently come back into the room, and if there's anything you want to note down for yourself, feel free. Okay. So I've just whipped through all of those little pieces, but I am sending it to you. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, take what fits, leave the rest. And I want to check in a minute just how we're going for time and when people need to sign off and whether we do some tapping or not. And I saw a post on LinkedIn today from Kate Billing, and she did this little poll asking people, so, you know, we're all getting new ideas now about how much we should work from home or be in the office, and I certainly have one client, architects who have decided to now permanently work from home for the moment, and they've closed their office down, and, you know, things are changing. And she asked people, do you want to work from home? Do you think you should work in the office, or both? And 70% of people said both. 25% of people said work from home. and this measly little amount said we should work at the office only. And I was really excited because I thought, you know, so many people are talking about carving out themselves a new normal and kind of redesigning how things work, and that's something I've always been passionate about, and I think will be one of the great outcomes from this whole experience we're going through. And so I feel like what we've been talking about tonight is really the right now stuff, like what do we need right now to fill our tanks and to start bringing the balance back in to support our nervous systems because of what we've been through, and as we continue forward, because, you know, we're not out of the situation yet. And there's a bigger question in there of, well, actually, how do I want to shape my life now going forward? And this has been brewing in my mind for a long time, but is now really sort of coming to fruition. So I also want to let you know that I'm looking at creating some new programs and offerings around that, and around this idea of creating your own profound new normal. So I'm going to keep you posted about that. But what I think is really important to think about is that, like a friend of mine said to me, I keep thinking that things are going to be different. Like I go out somewhere and I think, oh gosh, you know, we're going to be in this new normal because look at what we've been through. But it's still really busy, there's traffic, and, you know, it doesn't look any different. The thing is, nobody is going to make it different for you. You absolutely, it is entirely up to you how you shape your life from this point onwards, what you want your lifestyle to look like, how you want your work to be shaped, how you want your days to go, what you want to have time for, how you want to spend your time. It is totally down to you. And some people find that really annoying because they're like, God, why do I have to do it? But actually we are moving into a time in the way bigger picture of humanity and consciousness that is around personal responsibility. And that means that we are all being empowered to really be responsible for how we want our life to be like. And I think that's a really exciting opportunity. So I really want to encourage you to think about that. It's, you know, it's about having that inward focus, what's right for you, not getting distracted by all of the stuff that's going on around us, being informed but not letting it derail us. It's up to you to create a new normal. It's actually up to us to create a new normal in a new world, actually, however we want it to be shaped. And so don't wait for somebody else to start doing this. Just do it for yourself, because that is what you have control of, and that is actually what you're responsible for. And that whole piece around how do you stay centered in yourself and not get off kilter and distracted by others, those are the sorts of things that I'm looking at bringing into my programs so that we can kind of learn how to do this. So I will definitely let you know when that's all sort of shaped up. So there's the what do you need right now, but also starting to think, and actually what do I want it to look like going forward? It's a really good question to be asking yourselves. So in terms of what next from here, I'm aware that for some people they might have stress levels they're trying to get down generally, and so I'm going to send you a link to my Start Me Up toolkit. If you newly subscribed when you joined this class, you will have probably got that toolkit sent to you anyway as part of your welcome to the community. If you haven't seen that toolkit already, it's a free video and ebook that's a really good introduction to starting to get your stress levels down. There's also the link to the nervous system class. If anybody is really wanting to kind of overhaul how you manage your time, your stress levels, your diary, your headspace, wanting to get off the hamster wheel and get more balance, then the online resilience program is a really good option for that. It's a 7-week program. It's currently half price if you use the coupon code. I'll send you a link to that in case you want to check it out. In fact, what I could do, let me see if I can post a link in the chat. The links, I think I saved them. No, that's not it. I'll do that quickly now because then you've got it immediately if you don't want to wait for my email. Okay, I don't know if this is going to be very readable, but we'll try. Okay, that worked, that's good. I thought it was going to bunch all the text together in one big horrible paragraph. And equally, one-on-one coaching, if you really want to do a deep dive and really get out of any stuck patterns, then you're welcome to check that out too. Okay, so just for those of you who do want a next step, there's a whole raft of options there, free, paid and otherwise. So I want to just check in because we are nearly at the, actually according to my clock we've got 5 minutes, but according to Zoom we're at time. Oh, we have 3 minutes, okay, great. Somewhere in the middle. So I want to check 2 things. One, whether anybody has any questions you would like to ask before we sign off. And 2, if anybody needs to go or whether you would like to do, say, a 10-minute round of tapping to sort of clear out some cobwebs. So I'm happy to stick around and do that. Yeah, so it's totally up to you. But yeah, I don't want to have anybody feel they've got to stay on the call if you need to go. So maybe you could just chuck in the chat whether you want questions and or tapping, and if you do need to go, that's absolutely fine. In any case, I'm just going to turn my heater off before I cook myself. Okay, so we've got a clear winner for tapping. Okay, that's cool. So if anybody does need to go, please feel free to just sign off. That's no problem. Okay, cool. All right, so cool, thank you, Ruth. All right, so what I'm going to get you to do to start off with is we are going to use some generic states that I think most people will be able to relate to. Thank you. And we're going to tap on those. So some of them will be more resonant for you than others, and that doesn't matter. We're going to tap all of them because it will be helpful anyway. So if you've got a pen and paper handy, it doesn't matter if you don't, but I'll get you to write down 4 words, and actually what I'll do is I'll put them in the chat in case you can't write them, just to make it easier to track what we're doing. Just bear with me for a sec while I grab them. I'm just going to do copy paste. I'm in the wrong document. Okay, the 4 words are, I'm going to put them in the chat: tiredness, tension, heaviness, anxiety/stress. Okay, there you go, they're in the chat. And what I would like you to do for a moment is to think about where in your body those sensations are, might be your head or wherever, and how you would rate them out of 10 in terms of intensity. So 0 means there's no sensation of it at all, and 10 means it's as heavy as it could possibly be, or it's as high anxiety as it could possibly be. So where are they in your body and what level of intensity? And like I say, if you haven't got one, don't worry about it. Okay. So yeah, where is it in your body? What level of intensity? All right, so I'm going to assume you're all new to tapping, but if you've done it before, then that's easy. These points might be slightly different to what you've done before. Every practitioner seems to be a little bit different. And so I'm just going to show you briefly what we're going to do, and then we are all going to do it together. So I'm going to show you the points so that you know where to tap, and then we are going to make our way through them. So the first point is this fleshy part of your hand, the karate chop point. And at the bottom of your little finger, you'll feel a little bumpy bone that sort of protrudes out a little bit. And you're going to tap just on the edge of that with your flat hand tapping. This is called the setup point. And we're going to tap here and we're going to do a setup statement in a minute. And then the first, let me just back up a bit so that you can see me. Well, we're going to tap the centre of the top of the head, so the crown of the head. And you're just tapping gently, like kind of the way you would tap a baby's back. You were birthing a baby, that kind of gentleness. But, you know, with a bit of, you can feel it. And then the inside of the eyebrow bone, you can either tap both sides or just one side. And then the outside of the eyebrow bone. So not to the temple, just the end of the eyebrow bone. Straight under the eye on the top of the cheekbone. Nice one. Top of the lip in that little valley. If you've stopped breathing, take a breath. Concentration will do that to you. And then in the little crevice under your mouth, so in that crease of your chin. And then take your flat hand and come just below the collarbones there, and you're going to tap on the collarbones. Nice one. Under the arm, straight under your arm, bra strap ladies. Cool. And then the liver point, which is straight under the top of the ribs. Yeah, and then the last one is top of the wrist and bottom of the wrist. Yeah. Okay, those are our tapping points. And we're just going to do a little clearing of energy, any sort of stuck patterns in your body around tiredness. We're just going to lighten the body, create some space for some new sensations and new thoughts. I did this the other night for a headache that wouldn't go away, and I just felt so much better afterwards. So we're going to tap the whole lot, okay, because we're kind of being efficient about it this evening. And so you'll see what I mean in a moment. So a couple of things as we go. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me all of the words out loud. Okay, so you're going to say it all out loud, and if as you're tapping you notice, oh, that ache that's part of that tension, just say it all out loud, okay, because you're activating that part of your body and those cells, and as we tap them, you're moving the energy, okay? So say it all out loud with me. And the other thing is see if you can concentrate on the sensations as much as possible. So really feel, if you're feeling really foggy and tired in your head, then really feel that as you're tapping, and that will help it move. Okay, ready to play? Cool. All right, so we are starting here with our setup point. So you're just tapping your hand, and we're going to go like this. Even though, so repeating after me, even though. I'm wondering whether to put the sound on or not. I think we won't, but it's kind of strange for me having you all silent. Okay, start again. Even though I have this tiredness, tension, heaviness, and anxiety, even though I feel the stress in my body, I am willing to love and accept myself. I accept this is how I'm feeling in my body. And I love myself. Okay, so we're bringing the power of acceptance and love to this energy, and it's very powerful. All right, top of the head. This tiredness, I can feel it in my body. This tension down to the eyebrow. This heaviness. The stress in my body. I know how long it's been here. I'm over it. I'd like to release it now. This tension. This heaviness. This tiredness in my body. This stress in my body. These post-lockdown sensations. Top of the wrist. This tension. Under the wrist, this stress. I'm ready to let it go now. All right, take a couple of nice breaths in. Breathe into your belly. And as you breathe out, imagine the breath is just flowing out of your body and flushing everything away that's ready to go. A couple more like that. Okay, then have a look at your list and just do a little calibration and see what rating would you give, what kind of intensity would you give tiredness now? Just feel your body, notice where is it now? Is it gone or is it less? Could be the same. Check tension, heaviness, anxiety, stress. Oh, has some of them dropped? Nice one. Okay, so we're going to do another round, but that's just giving you a calibration to see what's already shifted already. Can you guys chuck in the chat which one is still your highest of those four? Let's just do that quickly and then I'll do a slightly more tailored round. Okay, thanks everyone. So we've got a couple of themes, but I'm going to cover all the bases. Definitely tiredness is a theme. All right, so here we go. Karate chop point, even though there's this tiredness in my body. I feel so tired. This heaviness. I am willing to love and accept myself. This tiredness. The tension that goes with it. Tired. Feeling exhausted. This tiredness in my body. This heaviness. This tension in my body. Under the arm, I'm so tired. I wake up tired. I'm tired now. I'll be tired later. I'll probably be tired tomorrow. I was tired yesterday. This tiredness. I want to let it go. I want to feel refreshed. I want to feel like myself again. I just want to chill out. To be able to feel relaxed and not tired, that'd be good. I'd like my body to be replenished. I'd like my head to feel refreshed. I'd like to feel like I have a bit of va-va-voom. I want my mojo back. This tiredness. This tiredness. I want to replenish my body. Replenishing my body now. Okay, nice one, everyone. So nice breath in. Let it all the way out. Letting that tiredness flow out your arms and legs. A couple more like that. Nice. I felt that one all the way down my spine. It was a goodie. Okay, so then just check for yourself again, do your calibration. How are those, each of those now on your scale of 0 to 10? Great. I'm just going to unmute everyone. And so did anyone zero out on any of them? Or drop it down by half or something like that? Yeah, cool. Nice one. So you could do another round when we hang up. You could totally have that option if you want to. You kind of can't go wrong with tapping because your body is just naturally responding to the movement of energy. So yeah, if you tap your elbow by mistake, won't matter. And so hopefully that's just left your body feeling a little bit more refreshed than when we began. And it also just gives you a sense of what's available in terms of how we can really be moving our energy. So tapping is an example of what is called, oh my gosh, the word's just gone out of my head. What is the word? It really has gone out of my head. It'll come back. But it is a way of using the physical body to change what the chemistry in your body is doing. And so havening is another phenomenal way to do that. So if you're looking, and there are tools online for these things. So if you want to be able to do some more of that, check it out. And tapping is certainly something that I work with my coaching clients with, so that they can be doing it at home as well. And I tell you what, one thing I really noticed when we went into lockdown is that the clients that had been tapping a lot on their stress patterns in the months leading up to lockdown really handled the whole situation vastly differently to people who weren't doing that. They were really resourceful and clear-headed and able to deal with what was in front of them, and some of them have had some pretty dramatic things to deal with as business owners and so on. So yeah, that was a really cool thing to notice. Okay, everyone, so that is our class complete. I will send you the notes. I will send you the links that I have mentioned to you today. I will definitely be letting my community know about new offerings coming forward, especially around creating a profound new normal. So look out for that if that's of interest, but also just feel free to reach out if you're looking for some kind of support at the moment, and I'm always happy to have a conversation and see what might be useful for you. So thank you, Oshana, bless you. So I'm going to hang about for a couple of minutes in case anybody has any questions, but otherwise I wish you a lovely good night. I really encourage you to take care of your dear selves and know that as we go forward you can really, look after yourself, carve out a path for you, and just know you can have it how you want it. I really believe that. And thank you for all being here. It's been so lovely seeing all your faces and having a lovely group of people here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.